This is a low spoiler review of the Sandman audiobook. I will make no qualms about saying I did not come across Sandman with an open mind. I have read the entire series multiple times, and I awaited the audiobook with a mix of excitement and trepidation. I was very worried that Sandman would be ruined by the changes they would make to the story. In that, at least, I was relieved. The adaptation is truly an audiobook. It's barely even an adaptation. I didn't do a line-by-line comparison, but essentially every narration box and speech bubble was unchanged. Every core and iconic line was exactly how I recalled it. The only change is the narration describing what happened in the comic panels. Aside from that, it is a fully accurate transcription of the first 3 books of the collection. The story remains just as excellent as you remember, from the tragic helplessness of Calliope and Nada to the brashness of a hobgoblin. Sound of Her Wings is a calm and loving vision of a series of objectively tragic events. And 24 Hours is just as disturbing as ever. The award-winning Midsummer's Night Dream makes for a great finale as Puck signs off. The vocal cast is excellent. From James McAvoy's deep, calm Morpheus to Kat Dennings' bubbly rendition of Death. Then you have Cain and Abel's antics, and all the rest of the cast does quite well. One important part is that each book has its own narrator. Gaiman himself narrates most of Preludes and Nocturnes, while Shea Grayson, as Rose Walker, narrates almost all of The Doll's House outside of the serial convention. However, I will say I have to disagree with a few artistic choices that they made in this audiobook. First, J.V. Bond does very well as Desire, but I think they play Desire far too deep. Desire is virulently, empathetically non-binary. Every outfit, every panel, whether in ancient Greece or modern day, could be worn by either a man or a woman. While Desire is pretty much Bond's normal speaking voice, I didn't get the ambiguity in their performance like Desire did in the art. Until I started research for this video, I thought that they had actually gotten a man to voice Desire. Perhaps fiction needs more than reality, but I just thought it was too deep a voice for this character. Secondly, I think the demons had far too much voice modulation. Intrigan especially was so modulated that he was practically unintelligible. I seriously could not even tell that he was speaking in rhyme. It was a serious step down from the performances in both the animated Justice League and Justice League Dark. Similarly, Chronozon was modified a bit too much to be a genuine threat in his duel with Morpheus. While Patterson Johnson gave a very good performance that succeeded in the duel itself, he was heavily hampered by the voice modulation. I'm reminded of the Dark Queen's speech in Fellowship, which was practically ruined by the effects and would have been far more powerful if they had just let Cate Blanchett act. Third, and I'll admit this is a minor point, the choice to have a female narrator of Tale in the Sand was a wrong one, in my opinion. There is a key point to the ending, where the narrator indicates there is a different version of the story told by women and never told to men. At that point, it suddenly becomes very important that the author, artist, and the characters telling the story were all men. Making the narrator female changes the ending from an "I don't know" to an "I'm not telling you," which ends the tale on a very different note. Now, given that this is Dream at his lowest moral character, changing it to a more standoffish tone may be deliberate, but it's very interesting how much this one casting decision and acting choice changes the entire ending without altering the script at all. Finally, I have to object to one point of the new narration. In Sound of Her Wings, Gaiman describes Death as a girl between 15 and 18 years of age. Come on, I know Death is supposed to be young, but it's a major point that almost every man she meets falls in love with her. I had always pictured her as about 20. The fact that she's jailbait makes most of her interactions quite concerning. This is especially important as they continue this series to include Endless Night and the spin-off Death comics. Death is probably the most iconic character from the Sandman series, more than even Morpheus himself. And the sheer volume of fan art and cosplay around her becomes incredibly disturbing if you're going to say officially that she looks to be 15. Now, these artistic choices aside, I would still heavily recommend this audiobook. It's a wonderful, faithful version of the classic story. However, being told in an entirely different medium, it's still a very new experience, even if you have read the original multiple times. I'd highly recommend it, no matter what your familiarity with the series. Thanks for listening, y'all.